In a small, forgotten village nestled at the edge of a dense, mysterious forest, lived a poor woodcutter named Alaric. His axe, once sharp and proud, was now dull, just like the hope that clung to his weary heart. With his wife, Alara, gravely ill and no food to fill their stomachs, Alaric felt the weight of despair. But everything changed the day he stumbled upon an ancient serpent, trapped beneath the roots of a colossal tree, its scales shimmering with a strange, golden glow. With a heart full of compassion, Alaric freed the serpent, not knowing that this act of kindness would spark a series of events that would forever alter his fate. Little did he know, however, that the serpent had one final warning for him. What is freely given can be freely taken. As Alaric's life transforms from poverty to unimaginable wealth, a powerful, greedy ruler, determined to steal the serpent's treasure, will learn that greed comes with a terrible price. But in a world where gold and power seem to be the greatest prizes, Alaric will discover that the true treasure lies in something far more valuable than riches. What price must be paid for greed? Stay with us to uncover the truth in this tale of fate, kindness, and the high cost of ambition. In the small village of Catcher, nestled on the edge of a vast and untamed forest, life was a daily struggle. Alaric, an elderly woodcutter, lived with his wife, Alara, in a modest hut. His once sharp axe now hung loosely in his gnarled hands, its edge dull from years of use. The weight of his hardship showed on his weary face, and the sweat-soaked shirt clung to his frail frame as he chopped through the thick, unyielding logs. Every day, he labored, gathering firewood to sell in the market, but the returns were never enough to fill their bellies. Alara lay sick in their humble home, her breath shallow and labored, with no strength to get out of bed. The fire in the hearth had long since gone cold, and the once warm, vibrant hut now felt like a tomb of despair. One fateful morning, as Alaric trudged through the dense forest searching for wood to sell, a mysterious carriage pulled up in the village. The villagers stepped aside, lowering their heads in fear. As Chief Geno, the ruler of Catcher, stepped out, his dark eyes scanned the village, cold and mocking, and when his gaze landed on Alaric, he smirked, taunting him about his poverty. Yet, Alaric, with his quiet dignity, responded, "A man is measured by his heart, not by gold." His words, though humble, carried a weight that would soon be tested by fate. As the days passed, Alaric's life took a turn he could hardly have imagined. The golden scale, given to him by the serpent, began to change everything. After he placed it beside Alara's sickbed, a strange warmth filled the room. The very next morning, Alara awoke, her once pale and fragile body now vibrant with life. Her eyes sparkled, her skin glowed with health, and the sickly cough that had plagued her for months vanished. It was a miracle, one that could not be explained. But the changes did not stop there. Alaric's humble hut, which had once been devoid of food and warmth, was now overflowing with treasures. Gold coins, precious jewels, and trinkets of unimaginable value filled every corner of their small home. As the scale pulsed with a soft, golden glow, Alaric understood the serpent's warning. What is freely given can be freely taken. Though the wealth had come to them effortlessly, Alaric could not ignore the weight of the warning. Still, he was filled with a sense of responsibility. The villagers, who had once pitied him, now looked to him with admiration, calling him Alaric the Blessed. Alaric used his newfound riches not to indulge in luxury but to help the village. He rebuilt homes, fed the hungry, and paid for healers to treat the sick. Yet, as his acts of generosity continued, word spread, and soon, the very man who had mocked him, Chief Geno, began to feel the heat of envy burn in his chest. The seeds of greed were planted in Geno's heart, and he couldn't stand seeing Alaric rise from nothing to become the beacon of hope in the village. As Alaric's newfound wealth and kindness transformed the village of Catcher, Chief Geno's envy festered like a growing storm cloud. No longer the revered ruler of the village, Geno watched with increasing bitterness as the villagers rallied behind Alaric. The once obedient villagers now saw Alaric not as a mere woodcutter, but as a symbol of hope, generosity, and change. It stung Geno's pride deeply. His once iron grip on the people was slipping, and with each passing day, he became more desperate to reclaim the power and admiration that Alaric had taken from him. In the solitude of his grand hall, Geno paced restlessly, His thoughts were consumed with greed. What was this strange gift Alaric had received? Where did it come from? How could he possess it? 2. He was determined to find the golden scale, the source of Alaric's miraculous rise. Driven by his insatiable thirst for power, Jeno made a dangerous decision. He would steal the golden scale from Alaric, no matter the cost. One dark, moonless night, Jeno snuck into the village, his heart pounding with anticipation. He moved swiftly, unnoticed by the villagers who were busy with their daily tasks. He reached Alaric's hut, its door left unlocked, a stroke of luck. Inside, the room was quiet, and Alara slept peacefully, no longer frail. The golden scale lay beside her, glowing softly with an otherworldly light. With trembling hands, Jeno seized it, ignoring the heat that radiated from it as though it resisted his touch. The serpent's warning echoed in his mind, but he dismissed it, eager to claim the scale's power for himself. As Jeno fled into the night, the wind began to howl, and the forest seemed to come alive, its whispers growing louder, but he paid no attention, too consumed by his greed. Little did he know, the serpent was watching, its golden eyes burning with fury. Jeno had made a grave mistake, and the consequences were about to unfold in ways he could never have imagined. The moment Jeno took the golden scale, a shift in the very air seemed to occur. The night felt colder, the winds fiercer, and the once peaceful forest now seemed to hum with a strange, foreboding energy. Jeno, filled with a sense of triumph, raced through the dense underbrush, his mind consumed with visions of power. He believed that the scale would grant him unimaginable wealth and influence, far surpassing Alaric's humble rise. However, the deeper into the forest he ran, the more unsettling the atmosphere became. The very earth seemed to tremble beneath his feet as if the forest itself was stirring. Aware of the wrong that had been committed, the forest grew darker, and a low, eerie rustling filled the air. Suddenly, the wind howled, bending the trees in unnatural ways. Jeno's heart raced, his grip tightening on the golden scale. He had no idea how much time had passed, but it felt like the forest was closing in on him. Then, through the thick shadows, something massive stirred. The ground shook as a deep, rumbling growl echoed through the trees. Jeno froze, panic surging through him. From the darkness emerged the serpent, its enormous body slithering across the forest floor, its golden eyes glowing like twin flames. The serpent was no longer the creature of gratitude it had been when Alaric had freed it. It was filled with wrath. Its voice, once calm and deep, now roared with fury. "You take without giving," it hissed, its voice shaking the earth. "You demand without gratitude." Jeno's pulse raced as he felt the heat of the golden scale burn against his skin. In that moment, he realized the terrible mistake he had made. His greed had led him here, but now he was trapped in the serpent's judgment. He tried to run, but his body refused to move. Frozen by fear, the serpent's coils wrapped around him with terrifying speed, constricting with unrelenting force, squeezing the air from his lungs. Desperation clawed at Jeno's chest as he tried to claw at the scales. But it was hopeless. His cries echoed through the forest, but they were silenced by the serpent's overwhelming power. With a final, deafening roar, the serpent's golden eyes flashed, and everything went white. When the light faded, Jeno was gone, his presence erased as though he had never existed at all. In the quiet aftermath, the forest fell still. The serpent, its judgment delivered, vanished into the shadows once more. The winds died down, and the forest returned to its eerie silence, leaving nothing but the echo of its ancient warning. Greed would always come at a terrible cost. The next morning, as the first light of dawn broke over the village of Catcher, a sense of uneasy calm settled over Alaric. His heart, though filled with a strange peace, felt heavy with an unspoken truth. He awoke with a sudden, inexplicable urge to check on Alara. He found her still sleeping peacefully, her breathing steady and strong, her face glowing with health. But as he looked around, the warmth of the room felt different, almost too still. His gaze fell to the golden scale, but it was gone. A chill crept into his bones as a wave of dread washed over him. The scale that had brought them wealth, health, and hope had vanished without a trace. Alaric's heart pounded in his chest as he stood, bewildered and disoriented. He searched the room, but it was as if the scale had never been there. It was gone, and yet a deep sense of understanding began to settle over him. He knew, somehow, that the serpent's warning had come to pass. With a heavy heart, Alaric left his home and ventured into the forest. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. And the forest seemed unnaturally quiet, as if holding its breath. As he reached the baobab tree, the same place where he had freed the serpent, he found something that made his heart stop, a cold, lifeless scale lying at the foot of the tree. The golden shimmer was gone, and in its place was only a reminder of the price that had been paid. The serpent's warning echoed in his mind. What is freely given can be freely taken. But Alaric was no longer angry or fearful. Instead, he felt a deep sense of acceptance. The gold, the jewels, all of it had disappeared. But the true gift had never been the riches, it had been the love, the health, and the life he now shared with Alara and the villagers. He had gained something far greater than wealth, something that could never be taken away. With a steady heart, Alaric returned to the village. The people, who had once looked at him with pity, now saw him as a man of wisdom and compassion. They greeted him with smiles and respect. Alaric smiled in return, his old, worn axe fitting comfortably in his hand once again. His life had come full circle. And though his wealth had vanished, he had found something far more valuable, a life worth living, filled with love, kindness, and the respect of his village. And in that moment, Alaric understood. The true treasure had always been the heart, not the gold.